It's the show that's faster and a little less dramatic than the Royals and A's at a wild card game.
The views and opinions of this podcast do not represent official sources.
Because of the extreme amount of bass, listeners' discretion is advised.
This show has been brought to you in part by Two Black Labs Audio. You are listening to A Week in Geekdom.
Welcome everybody to another exciting episode, another week here at A Week in Geekdom. I am your host, Giovanni Menendez. And as always, you can follow us on your favorite social media platform, but of course you can subscribe and like our videos here on YouTube, and head on over to our social media platforms, from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram, and everything else in between. Just search A Week in Geekdom, and I promise you we will be there. You can also write to our email, that's aweekingeekdom@gmail.com, and let us know what you think of the show, what we should change, what we should talk about, topics, discussions, anything you want to talk to us about. We're more than happy to oblige. So yes, thank you folks to another exciting week. A rather slow week in terms of what I selected to talk about, so we're going to keep this brief, concise, and pretty fun. Now on this episode, actually last week I was going to show you guys a couple great items that I acquired for my birthday, which was last week, or last Friday, and none of them arrived in time. Curse you, Postal Service. But slowly but surely they are starting to show up. I'll get into it a little bit later on at the end of the show. And let's get started. In gaming news, Shadow of Mordor is finally out, and we have not played it yet. It really looks like Assassin's Creed in the Tolkien era, Middle-earth, Lord of the Rings world. And that, in and of itself, is exciting. We're going to wait a little while until we get that game, because between everybody here at the Week in Geekdom family, there's a ton of games that we want to play this fall. I myself have like 4 titles. Super Smash Bros., which is coming out this week. The new Alpha Sapphire game from Pokemon. We got Assassin's Creed Unity, Assassin's Creed Rogue, Dragon Age Inquisition. I know we're also getting NBA 2K15 and so on and so forth. But it's the busiest time for every gamer, right? In comic book news, Lady Thor has finally debuted. We're still catching up and reading the first stuff with Thor God of Thunder, so we won't be reading it for a while, but it looks pretty awesome, and good on Marvel to try something completely different. I know a lot of people were hating on it, on the concept and such of Thor being a title instead of a name or whatever. And of course there are the other people online that want to complain because it's a woman. And I really don't care whatsoever who has the mantle, but I like the idea that there's a different person wielding Mjolnir and all that stuff. That is actually pretty fun. Meanwhile, over in TV land, Gotham episode 2 and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode 2 debuted this week. And I gotta say, both shows are bringing their A game, while the pilot, and I've heard some whiny fans complain about so many Easter eggs and such, and while yes, I agree there were a bit too many of them, it was still a solid pilot to an alternate dimension, an alternate take on Gotham City. That's what you gotta get. It's an alternate take. It does not have to marry itself to 75 years of Batman lore. It's taking some of their best stuff and adapting it into its own. And like I said, it's practically a mix of stuff from Year One to the classics to even Earth 1 Batman. And I'm just a little tired of fans always going on this endless crusade of this show sucks because they didn't do this or that specifically. It's a pilot. Let the show evolve, and if it's bad, I'll be the first one to flame it and I'll criticize it, but let's give it some room to breathe, because let's face it, when a pilot gets picked up, you gotta show all your cards, put all your cards on the table, because the pilot is going to determine the whole thing, right? So what better way than to go all out and all flashy with Easter eggs here and there and make this huge 45-minute spectacle, if you will, 42-minute spectacle. And that's why most of the pilots are really weak compared to the rest of the series. I mean, an example, something like Arrow, where the pilot was pretty good, was pretty awesome, but then as the series progressed and now we're entering season 3, it got so much cooler and better because we give it room to breathe. The pilot is basically a summary of what's going to happen in the show. So my advice, don't get so worked up and just enjoy it. Episode 2, while yes, it still has a little bits and problems here and there, I really liked seeing the progress and the slow development of these characters, from Harvey Bullock to Gordon to Selena Kyle to even the Dollmaker, which I don't give a crap about the Dollmaker. I mean, all of a sudden, this New 52 version got really famous for no reason. He appeared on this subpar story when Detective Comics debuted in the New 52, and then he shows up in Arrow in this creepy Frankenstein-ish version that he's Dr. Frankenstein experimenting on women or whatever, and now you're getting them on Gotham instead kidnapping children. Man, this guy's a psycho. Come on. But yes, I thought it was a fine episode and much, much greater, if you will, than the pilot. And yeah, you know, speaking of second episodes, as I mentioned, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode 2, man, has this show gotten great. Since Winter Soldier, everything has been really good. And now with season 2, you're getting down to the grittiness and the teamwork that's needed to pull the show off in a way that was unlike anything we had seen in the first season. And now with so many characters popping up and so many clues here and there, one thing I do not like that much is that they keep spinning around these threads for a gazillion episodes, and sometimes the payoff may not be worth it, but this time it looks like it's worth it. Last episode we saw the obelisk, I think, and I already know I'm wrong. I don't care. Call me out, whatever. It would be fun if, like, the obelisk were something like a Terrigen crystal for the Inhumans or something like that, like an updated version of that. If not, I don't know. It could possibly be some Kree artifact or something. I don't know. What do you guys think? The obelisk, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 2, Gotham episode 2. Let us know. Meanwhile, speaking all things Marvel and TV and comic books, we're going to mix it all together here, folks. One of the most exciting news to me this week is the fact that Adrienne Palicki, who's playing Mockingbird on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is in talks to possibly, quite possibly, extend her character, Mockingbird, into the Avengers film franchise, which to me is perfect and what you should be doing all along ever since season 1 started. But yes, the idea that Mockingbird could show up is actually awesome and help out with the Avengers, because if they're going to face off against Thanos in the Infinity Gauntlet for Avengers 3, you're pretty much going to need all the help you can get. I mean, you've got the Guardians and the Avengers and their sidekicks, if you will. Possibly, I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful that Sony will lend itself to work with Disney and somehow Spider-Man will show up in there. So with that said, there's not a whole lot more allies to this, because the X-Men aren't there, or the Fantastic Four. I don't know. They're going to need all the help they can get. And speaking of Avengers 3, there's this rumor that it could split up into 2 movies, like we've seen with Hunger Games or Harry Potter and all these type of last-minute decisions where they split up this giant story into 2 epic movies. I think that would be pretty badass. I have no problems with it. If you're going to do something like Infinity Gauntlet, hell yeah, you probably, it's in your best interest to split this movie up into 2 parts, or maybe even more, I don't know. But especially if you're going to get all the help from the Marvel world, cinematic world. And you know, it's perfect. We still have no clue what's going to happen in Age of Ultron. Maybe somebody will die. Maybe we will get a new roster change. Maybe it will pave the way for the Marvel Netflix heroes to show up in Avengers 3. That could also be a possibility against the Mad Titan. So, what do I think firsthand? I think it's a great time to be a Marvel fan. And, yeah, we will have to keep this news updated. Because we still got a long way to go, folks. I think it's, 2017, 2018? That's a long-ass time for an Avengers movie to come out. So let's just wait for the second movie, and then we'll expand and see what the heck is going on with Age of Ultron and all the characters that are gonna be in there. You know. By the way, speaking of Avengers, I think, or actually the internet thinks, Secret Avengers could be in the works. I think that's a pretty cool idea, especially with characters like Moon Knight being referenced in Winter Soldier, and now you've got Falcon and Mockingbird, Hawkeye, and Black Widow. Those characters could easily be the Secret Avengers, in my opinion, along with Cap. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait a little while to find out. But in other movie news, and one I just have to reference because it's hilarious, a Tetris movie is in the works. Who the hell cares about Tetris these days? It's a fun game for our generation because we were part of it, but nobody gives a crap about Tetris. It's like the Battlefield movie, where the only reference was like the ships positioning themselves on the ocean to fight off the alien Hawaiian invasion, whatever. So I'm thinking it'll be some crappy reference like that with like blocks lining up or spaceships or whatever. But whose bright idea? I mean, seriously, damn it. Are we really out of ideas? Can we just pack up and leave? Man. Moving on to something I really wanted to talk about and to sort of wrap up this quick edition of A Week in Geekdom. If you want to spend your money, your well-earned money on something awesome, and what is being described as Japan's equivalent of The Walking Dead, if that's even possible, then it's part of my birthday gifts. And of course, I'm talking Attack on Titan Part 2, the Blu-ray edition. It looks amazing. I did not get the limited edition because, Jesus, it's too expensive. But the show is fantastic. It's one of those series that, to me, transcends the genre in it of itself, and you could show this to anybody. Anybody that likes action and all that stuff, and they'll be pleasantly surprised and want to keep going for more and more as the mystery intensifies. I cannot wait for season 2. Hopefully it'll come out next year, I think. But yeah, Attack on Titan, man, it's pretty fun. Let's just take a quick peek. It's pretty fun, and you should definitely pick that out. Another gift that actually came in, and I wanted to show it to you guys, last week. Our book of the week, if you will, here at Week in Geekdom. Of course, we're talking, and it is heavy, folks. I'm talking about the recently acquired Invincible Compendium 2. Look at this sucker. It weighs a lot. It's like carrying a video game console. And yeah, it looks pretty awesome. So there you go. Invincible Compendium 2 from Image. Robert Kirkman is an amazing dude, and this by far is my favorite Image series. And if you want to check out something cool, something very anime-esque, if you will, very manga-esque, but in the superhero tropes, then I really recommend you get Invincible Compendium 2. Of course, you could also get the first one if you haven't read it. Of course, you got to get the first one. They're a little expensive. It's $65, but it's well worth it. You get like 50 issues per omnibuy, if you will. Does this classify as an omnibus? I don't know. It feels like one. So yeah, we've come yet to another conclusion here at A Week in Geekdom. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. For everybody that's liking our Facebook page, following us on Twitter, liking our pictures on Instagram, following our vacant Tumblr account, and our vacant Pinterest site. Thank you so much for following A Week in Geekdom. As always, you can write to us and let us know what you think. So, for one final time, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see all of you next week. Seriously, this is pretty cool. Man, Oatley is a badass. Seriously. Look at this. I can't show you that. That's a spoiler. But seriously, it's pretty fun.